Into the basement for today's conversation on Easy Rightsizing with Janine Bryant of Changing Spaces SRS. Again, good morning, Janine.
Good morning, Dale. Hello.
My visits around the country, mainly the two that come to mind, Portland, Oregon, and Phoenix, Arizona, I realized visiting those two areas that not every part of the country allows for basements. I remember asking friends in those basementless houses in Portland and Phoenix, where do you store stuff? It looks like it's all living space. Where do you store stuff? And then I come back to Lincoln, where nearly every home has a basement. And for many, it's a living space, but for far too many, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, it's also a storage space. So take us through steps today to make that homeowner feel good about their storage space basement.
Yes. You know, what a concept, Dale, is their entire houses are living space in those places that don't have basements.
What would that be like?
How amazing is that, right? I mean, it is true. And I mean, it's even true for me in my own home that I think so many of us who do have basements really don't spend a whole lot of time down there. And because of that, it's so easy to just put stuff in the basement. It's sort of an out-of-the-way place where things go that we just don't have the energy to deal with, right? I mean, many of your listeners have probably heard that quote that says clutter is really just the result of delayed decisions. So you see something comes into your home and you're not really sure what to do with it. Where do you put it? Down in the basement. You know, this topic idea came up for me recently because I remember I was giving a presentation once upon a time, and one of the gals came to my presentation about how to right size. She was ready to declutter in her home and get things kind of whipped into shape. And she mentioned to me that she had what in her home she referred to as the basement of shame. And she said it in a joking way, but boy, I could tell there was a glint in her eye that told me she really did feel bad about it. And for her, the reason she felt ashamed of her basement was because she had boxes upon boxes sitting down there that had come from her mother's home over a decade ago. Okay, and boy, this is so common. I hear this all of the time. This gal, her mother had passed away several years ago, and they had to empty out her mom's house in a hurry, and she just couldn't bear to let go of her mother's things. So she boxed them up, and where do they come? Down to her basement. Sometimes I think even our extended families, if they know that we've got a basement that's got some room in it, it's easy for them to say, well, you've got room at your house. Why don't you take it and store it for me, you know? And so that is what happens, I think, a lot to a lot of people in their basements, is that it gets filled up, and then it really tends to weigh heavily on our minds. This is the place where delayed decisions go to die, is in our basement. So today I want to help our listeners learn how to feel great about your basement. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you could say, oh, if you're not embarrassed to have people go down to your basement, if you can go down to your basement and feel good, not feel ashamed or heavy or stressed by it. So today, that's what I want to encourage listeners to do. I've got lots of tips, so maybe you want to get out a pencil, dear listeners, and take some notes, because I'm going to tell you all about how to get started feeling great about your basement.
All right. What's the first tip?
Yeah, so the first thing, it always starts with really figuring out what is there. You've got to go on a tour of your basement. I'm not asking you, in this first step, I'm not asking you to get rid of anything. I just want you to go down to the basement, take some time, don't rush through this, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to open up every drawer, every cupboard, look in every closet, in every room of your basement, just so that you can see what's there, because I think that a large majority of people really don't even remember what is in their basement, right? It's where things go to die. It's where things go, and then maybe you don't look at them for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or longer. So take some time and go through every nook and cranny of that basement, and just to see what's there. And then ask yourself, so how much of the stuff in the basement is excess stuff that's stressing you out? And then how much of it is precious stuff that you really enjoy having and you enjoy having down there? Now, when you think about the things in your basement that you really enjoy, first of all, ask yourself, is the basement the best place for this item? Or would you enjoy it more if it's something you really love? Maybe you want to put it upstairs in your living room where you're going to see it more often. But if it is excess stuff that makes you feel bad, then that is a sign that that's the stuff that you need to sort through and probably let go of. Okay, so after you've taken this tour, I want you to make note of the areas in your basement that are really stressing you out. and then determine, okay, so maybe it's the basement guest bedroom, and then it's the basement storage room that are stressing you out. Here's what I do when I take a tour of a client's home and I see an area that's pretty cluttered, okay, and it's a little overwhelming. I just try to assess what exactly is even in these rooms, okay? Is it empty boxes? Is it piles of paper? Is it Christmas decorations? Is it old photographs? What is it that specifically that's cluttering up the basement? Because once we identify what those items are, then we can start tackling them one by one, okay? So I would even suggest, if this works for you guys listeners, make a list of all of the types of clutter that are cluttering up your basement, okay? Is it sports equipment? Is it papers, like I said, holiday decorations? Just make a list and then tackle the clutter in your basement category by category, okay? So if it's photographs, just start with the photographs, gather them all in one place, sort through them, discard the ones you no longer wish to keep, and put the ones you do wish to keep in a neat and tidy photo storage box, okay? Then move on to the next category of items. In my example, this woman that came to my presentation, for her it was items that came from her mother's house. So put all of those items in one pile and start sorting through, okay? Maybe you have 25 boxes of items that came from your mother's house. Decide how much you're going to keep. Maybe you're setting a limit of 2 or 3 boxes, and then be ruthless as you're sorting. Try to get it down to what you think is a reasonable amount of stuff to keep. Another thing that a lot of clients, we were just working with in a house that had this in their basement, is a lot of outdated toys that are no longer played with. Maybe they're toys that belong to a client's child that is now grown. If that's what's cluttering up your basement, ask your family members who have children if they would like the items, and then if not, just donate them to a local child care center. Okay, that's a great use for them. When you look down in your basement, maybe you see a whole bunch of old clothing, okay? Bag it up right now and haul it to charity. That extra clothing could really be a blessing to someone else in our community who could use that clothing. If it's seasonal decor, determine how many boxes of each season or each holiday that seem appropriate to you. Okay, if it's Christmas clutter that's cluttering up your basement, determine how many boxes of Christmas decorations are appropriate for me to keep. If I've got 10 now, maybe I want to get it down to 5. Again, sort and be ruthless. So, Dale, none of this is rocket science, but what it is it's being intentional and it's being thoughtful and methodical as you are sorting. It's so easy to go down to the basement, feel overwhelmed, throw up your hands, and think, oh, I'll do this another day. And, people tend to do that, and then suddenly it's been 6 or 7 or 10 years, and they haven't tackled the basement, and it just gets heavier and heavier, and it weighs more and more on them. So that's why I really want to give these tools to empower our listeners to go down to their basements and start tackling those clutter areas, because, boy, the lightness you're going to feel after you tackle that clutter is going to be so worth it.
An observation, circling back to something you've just said, and that is old toys or old clothes. Maybe it's from your kids. From experience, let me just say, ask those kids if they want those items before you have them packed up and left on their front step. Because what's memory evoking for me might not mean anything to your children. They want to start with their own toys and clothing for their kids. And I learned that, and it was a little sensitive for me, but it makes a lot of sense. Rather than just dump boxes of your children's toys and clothes on their front step, ask them what they would like to keep, and then get rid of it.
Absolutely, yes. And sometimes, we work with clients who have boxes and boxes and boxes of their children's clothes or their children's toys that have been sitting there for 30 or 40 years. And I know, because I'm approaching 40, and when I'm taking a tour of the house, I think, well, I had that as a kid, and I recognize that. And so I know how long those things have been sitting in this person's basement. And sometimes adult children, if we've got any adult children listening whose parents are doing this, they just need their kids to gently and lovingly say, Mom, Dad, why are you keeping this? I don't want it. You can let it go. I give you permission. And when it's time for grandkids, boy, it's so fun to go out and get them new stuff, right? And again, if you feel like you want to keep a few of those things, then set a limit for yourself. Tell yourself, I'm going to keep 2 boxes of old toys for my kids to keep here at Grandma and Grandpa's house, but not 17 boxes, right? It's all about setting a limit and then respecting that limit.
You also bring up a good point, Janine, and that is to not let that first step be a big step, because that can be intimidating, and then you fall back and you think, I'll take care of that tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes 4 years from now. So take a manageable first baby step, and as you pointed out, just take an inventory of the items down in the basement. That's a great first step. Janine, before we run out of time, talk a bit about how Changing Spaces SRS has adapted to the hygiene issues that we all are having to handle with this pandemic.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, we work primarily with seniors, and so they're one of the most vulnerable populations when it comes to COVID-19. So our team is working hard to keep their hands washed and sanitized, to be wearing their masks when we're working with clients, and to keep our distance from people. Even when I go out to do initial consultations with clients, I come and I have my mask on, and then I usually sit on the other side of the room from our clients, and while I'm explaining our services, just so that they feel comfortable. So we're keeping our clients safe, and so we're keeping our staff members safe as well, because if our team gets sick, or if someone on our team gets sick, then we would not be able to help clients, and we'd need to shut down for a period of time. So we're doing everything we can to stay safe and stay sanitized, and just kind of proceed with a lot of compassion and grace. Boy, I think that's what our world needs right now.
And I get a sense, here we are on the last Sunday of the month, I get the sense that July is going to open up even more. So looking forward to that. And of course, 4th of July. So happy Independence Day to you and your staff.
Yes,
Janine.
thank you. Yeah, I look forward to it as well. And we just need to proceed with caution so that we do it right.
Join us every Sunday morning here. And if you'd like more free right-sizing tips, videos, and resources, you can visit EasyRightsizing.com. And of course, join us every Sunday morning here on the radio. Janine, thank you very much. Happy Independence Day again.
Thanks. Same to you, Dale.